Tom Cruise, Sandra Bullock, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Pratt, Will Smith, and Reese Witherspoon.
Here's the Beaver County forecast on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Mostly sunny skies today. High is going to be up to 76 degrees. Clear overnight tonight with a low down to 51. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 74. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 80. And then rain showers back in the forecast on Monday with afternoon showers and thunderstorms. High is going to be up to 83 degrees. Tuesday, showers likely with an afternoon thunderstorm possible. High up to 76 degrees. Our newscast this hour is being brought to you by St. Barnabas. That is a look at the news for now. I'm Frank Sparks, Beaver County Radio News, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and beavercountyradio.com.
I'm Patty.
And I'm Bob. We're retired, and we live at St. Barnabas in the Village.
We used to have a house.
Lived in it for 40 years.
Raised our kids.
But it became too much. The upkeep, the stairs.
Moving seemed like such a hassle. We didn't even know where to start, so we didn't.
Until we met Cindy at St. Barnabas.
She talked us through our options.
Yeah, and she helped us with our move and all the arrangements.
There was so much stuff. Who knew we had 3 fondue pots?
But she made it easy.
So easy.
Now we enjoy ourselves.
Golf, the pool, new friends, shuttles to where we want to go.
The pub and the food.
So good.
There wasn't a long-term commitment or any large fees.
And they have a healthcare system on campus with doctors if we need it. The kids really like that.
The kids like to come and eat with us.
There's an easier, worry-free way to retire at the Village at St. Barnabas. Come visit us for a free and informative counseling session and personal tour.
I can't believe you waited so long.
I can't believe you waited so long.
Visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com or call 724-443-0700.
Your community, your radio stations, originating from the St. Barnabas Control Studio in Beaver County. 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge.
It is all of those things that he just said. My name is Eddie Crow, and I've been having an amazingly interesting conversation. Dewey Clawson is my guest. We talked about, I keep wanting to say little wings, taking kids up in airplanes, and we talked about that. I didn't want to give short shrift to one of the other ways you spend your time. Pilots and Paws. Pilots and Paws, and that's PAWS. You're one of those guys that gives animals a free ride when they need to go somewhere. Explain what that program is for people that don't know.
Somebody started a forum on the internet for animal shelters, and when an animal shelter needs to transport a dog to somewhere else for whatever reason, maybe it's going to get medical care. I know there is a veterinarian just south of Pittsburgh that does a lot of free medical care for rescue animals. So some of the animals I know go there. Or the dog is in Kentucky and there's somebody in northern Ohio that wants to adopt it, that sort of thing. Neither the shelter nor the person adopting it can afford commercial transportation. Airlines in general.
I was going to say, how much does it? Do airlines even do that anymore? I remember as a kid you'd see the big dog carriers, but I don't see that anymore.
Most airlines don't, or they're very restrictive on being able to do it, and it is not cheap. The person that needs the transport puts the request on the forum, and pilots go on the forum and just sign up, and you can put what distance you're willing to travel. I, for instance, put 300 miles.
So it's like a ride board almost.
Pretty much,
okay.
Yes, yeah. Anybody that puts a request on there, if their request passes within 300 miles of Beaver County Airport, then I automatically get an email that says this person's asking for it. Now, sometimes, like for instance, there's one today going from Kentucky to West Virginia. For me to do that, I would have to actually fly about 4 times the distance that the animal is being transported. That's just simply not efficient.
Right.
So I just simply delete those.
Yeah, I can't do that one.
But if they get one that's going from Butler to Kentucky, now that's different. I can either jump over to Butler, pick it up, or the person over there can drive over to Beaver and I take it down to Kentucky, or vice versa. A number of the transports I've done have over to just south of Cleveland to various airports. The longest one that I've been involved with came from Tehran, Iran,
Okay.
Seriously, yeah. Little white puffball, cutest little thing, but the puppy was blind. And it was going to University of Minnesota up in Minneapolis, and there was a doctor up there in the university that thought he could fix the dog's eyesight. And I went up to Buffalo and picked the dog up in Niagara Falls, actually, and took it out to Grand Rapids, Michigan. And another person came over and picked it up there, and he was actually flying a twin-engine airplane. He came across Lake Michigan to Grand Rapids and then took the puppy up to Minnesota.
Okay. If you tell me the puppy didn't get his sight back, I'm going to start crying. Do you know the outcome?
I don't know what the outcome is.
Where does the money come from? Because if this is coming out of your, it's wonderful that you volunteer, and that's priceless. But gas for those things ain't cheap.
No, it's not. That comes out of my pocket for my airplane.
Where does
each pilot does that, and I'm involved with one transport that they are trying to get it put together right now.
Okay,
and the puppy is going from New Jersey to Tacoma, Washington, and the last leg is a Cessna Citation, which is a jet going from Montana to Tacoma. And the gas for that thing comes out of the owner's pocket.
So they're going to fly a puppy, literally transcontinental.
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
That's unbelievable, and all of these people are volunteering to do this.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question. I love animals more than people, and I've said it, but let me ask you a question. Why?
It's a way to give back, and I feel the same way you do about puppies. We have 2 golden retrievers at home, and they're wonderful.
They're part of the family.
They are absolutely.
They get to decide as much going on as anybody else in the house.
They compete with my 2-legged kids.
You 2-legged kids may have a problem here now. They probably heard that. Dewey Clawson, it's been wonderful talking to you. How can people help what you're doing? Because both of these programs are absolutely amazing, and you're just doing this because you want to do this.
Well, you can go on the Pilots and Paws website.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Pilots and Paws, spelled just the way it sounds.
PAWS.
N. Yes, Paws. Pilots.
That's that military paws. Using letters instead of words. Then.
Yeah. And there's you go on that website and you can find someplace on there where you can donate to the organization. I cannot accept any donations because then it would be a commercial flight. And even though I'm licensed to fly commercial, I flew for the airlines for 25 years. My airplane is an experimental airplane, although it's a home-built airplane, but it certainly doesn't look like a home-built. It looks like a production airplane. It cruises very efficiently at 10 gallons an hour at 150 knots, which is about 165 miles an hour. So
10 gallons an hour?
Yes.
And
so that's pretty, and we're not zigzagging back and forth down the roads. It's going in a straight line. So that's a pretty efficient airplane. It's a 4-seat airplane. So I can put 2 big cages in where the back seats go.
Okay.
And still have the baggage compartment available. And the most I've had in there was 14 puppies.
Oh, I bet that was a peaceful.
Oh, it was. I even got 2 of them adopted en route.
What, did you get on the radio? Hey, I'm bringing 14. Who wants 2?
No, actually, the gentleman that went with me, Stan Kasuba, we're on the way back from Kentucky, and the puppies were coming from a shelter that was being closed, and they were going to euthanize all the puppies.
Like, go get the puppies, right?
We had to get them right now.
Right.
And a young lady came down from Rochester to pick them up and take them up to Rochester. They're going to a kennel up there. They thought they could adopt them. 3 of them were only a week old, and they were with their mommy.
Okay.
And then there was another litter of 8, and I had those in the 2 cages. And then we had 2 other ones that looked like they were at least part husky. They had nice bright blue eyes. And Stan said that he was looking for a puppy. I wonder if you think we might be able to adopt one of those. But normally we can't because the dogs are spoken for.
Mm-hmm.
But we landed, and I called the coordinator, and she said, "Take as many as you want." Well, Stan is standing at the back of the airplane with his head in the baggage door, trying to figure out which one he wants. And 2 of the EA members' wives and the airport manager come out of the terminal, and we know them, and Stan knows them, and they start ragging on Stan. Stan, you can't break up the family, you meanie. Stan took both of them.
Oh my God, guilt works, doesn't it?
It does.
even in an airplane with Puppy. I want to ask you about the experimental airplane, because that's the organization that you're with, and that's
Yes.
the organization that does all of this amazing stuff. How big was the leap of faith the first time you got into a plane you built and left the ground
Well,
with it?
I didn't actually build this airplane. It was somebody else built it.
Well, okay, homemade is the
but
thinking.
there's some people think that that's a real problem, that it's questionable. I look at the airplane, and I had someone else inspect it who knows that type of airplane, a gentleman down in Atlanta who has one, this exact same airplane. And he was manufacturer's representative for the East Coast for a while. He is very well known in the community, and he really knows that airplane. I had him inspect the airplane before I bought it. And he came back and he said this was a really well-built airplane. Also, the most home builds today are more along the line of a put-together kit. They are now to the point where you don't need jigs, you don't need any of that. All you do is just put it together. And it used to be when you bought an airplane kit, you'd open the box and you had a box full of aluminum pieces.
Yeah.
Now, when you open the box, you have a box full of aircraft parts. And that's the best way I can describe it. So the quality of the build, or I should say the variations in the quality of the build, is minimized.
Okay. Because, well, you're putting together technically less stuff. You're not building a wing. You're attaching parts of a wing, the spars and all that are already there.
A good aeronautical engineer has done all the design work.
Okay. Are ultralights remotely in the same category? Do they count as experimental aircraft? Because to my untrained eye, that looks like a kite with a lawn chair tied to the bottom of it and a big, industrial fan on the back.
Yeah, ultralights have taken a large step in that direction. They are, at one time, probably an accurate description would be just what you said, a kite with a lawn chair under it. That's no longer true. They also come as kits that are very well built. But they don't have to be. Most ultralights are not licensed. The pilots don't have to be licensed. Obviously, a very good idea to get some instruction in it. But the Wright brothers proved that you can crash an ultralight as often as you want.
If it's built to come up. That's a weird way to go about enjoying a hobby, though, isn't it? That you can crash it as often as you want.
But that really doesn't happen. They don't crash that much.
When the kids come for the trips, like the trip tomorrow, do they ask questions like this? Does this kind of information? Because this is mesmerizing to me.
Some do. It depends on the kids, their background, how much previous interest they've had in aviation, and they've looked at it. Most of the kids, in fact, the kids that we're flying tomorrow, all 36 of them, not one of them has flown a Young Eagles flight. Now, they may have been in airplanes, commercial airplanes. They may have flown in little airplanes. I have had kids. I had a 11-year-old who had flown a Young Eagle flight 4 times previously.
Just kept coming back.
I've flown Young Eagles kids whose parents had an airplane, and they'd flown many times in the airplane with them, but they'd never flown a Young Eagles flight. And there's all varieties.
What do they do when they're on the flight? Because having kids in the back of a car going down the road can be hellish. How are you flying a plane and keeping them calm?
Well, in general, usually the kid is sitting in the front seat.
That's when they can reach the buttons.
That's right. And then we encourage that. Not the buttons, but the stick.
Okay.
And once we get airborne and get up and level off,
you let
let them fly. Absolutely. You bet.
What's the look on their face when they realize, oh my God, I'm actually moving this, and the plane? That's got to be amazing when they look over at you for a second.
It is. They sit there and they just don't know what to do with it. They haven't had any ground school or had any previous instruction in it. So, and it's just a local orientation ride. If they live nearby, go see their neighborhood. Although things look so much different from the air, it's very hard.
The landmarks aren't there
the landmarks are there, but they're different.
Okay.
So they don't recognize them usually. But if I know the neighborhood where they live, I can point out the neighborhood and they could see it. Or their school is a lot easier sometimes, especially if it's like Black Hawk or another nearby school. We can fly by there and they can see that. or like there's the Ohio River, they can identify that. It's pretty easy.
What's the type of plane that you've got them in when you go up tomorrow? What is it?
It's an RV-10. It's a Vans RV-10. It's a 4-seat, and I'll have both seats in the back installed.
Okay.
We do have some families that with 2 or 3 brothers and sisters. Sometimes they want to go together. Sometimes you ask them and they give you a look at it. It's like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Go with them.
Yeah. I rode in the car with them here. No.
Yeah, that was enough. Yeah. It varies.
I'm just amazed that more people don't know about this program. It is growing, though, right?
It is growing. We started, the Chapter 68 has been doing this for quite a while, and they stopped doing it before I got into the chapter about 6-7 years ago. And we looked at it and said, well, why don't we start doing this again? And I don't know exactly why they stopped, but the part of the problem is getting the word out. The first one we did, we had 7 kids sign up, and that was 3 years ago. And then COVID came along, and that pretty much shut us down for 2 years. The last one we tried to do was last September, which canceled it, and we scheduled it for October. And then we had 2 days in a row of bad weather, and that got canceled. But we had 22 kids signed up, and now for tomorrow we have 36. So the word is spreading, and we're figuring out how to advertise on social media a little bit better, that sort of thing.
Let people know, because the kids, does it cost anything? It doesn't cost anything for the kids?
It doesn't. We have a donation jar, and if the people want to donate, it's entirely up to them.
Yeah.
We don't push it.
Okay.
It's no cost.
At no cost.
Yes.
And please, before we wrap up, first off, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. Tell people how they can get a hold of the program that's running tomorrow, and how they can get a hold of Pilots and Paws. That warms my heart to no end.
The Young Eagles program is just youngeaglesday.com or
right.
youngeaglesday.org. And Pilots and Paws is Pilots and Paws, all one word strung together on the internet. If you can just sign up if you need to get a dog transported, or you're working with an adoption agency that is far away and you got down to they'll let us adopt the puppy, but now we have to get it here. And they can go on Pilots and Paws and put in a request. Or if you want to support it, you can go on Pilots and Paws, and there's a place there where you can donate.
Were you a thrill seeker your whole life?
No.
Were there, because when I mentioned ultralights and things like that, you kind of had a look. You weren't. You just. It was about flying.
It was just about flying. I've never flown an ultralight. Flown gliders, and that's the closest I've come to ultralights. I've never been a thrill seeker. It's just things are presented and say, oh, yeah, okay. I've never jumped out of a perfectly good airplane, and I don't intend to.
Well, did you go? You had to go through training. They didn't make you go through training?
The training that you do in pilot training, there's several things that you do. One is a training ejection seat, where you pull the handles and you're fired up the rail, but you're still attached to the rail, and you go up about 20 or 25 feet, and then you slide right back down. So you get the initial shock of the ejection seat firing, but you never leave the seat. The other thing we do is parasailing. And
getting towed?
You get towed.
Okay.
And I've done it a couple different ways. I've done it in the water. It's part of water survival training, where you get towed by a boat. And you go up like you see in the resort areas on the coast, people out doing parasailing, that sort of thing. But in the commercial ones, you don't let go of the rope. You stay attached to the rope. The boat slows down and then lets you back down into the water. In our case, you get up there and you're attached with a couple of things that look like seat belts. In fact, they are seat belts. Yeah. And when you release the seat belt, pop, you are free, hanging underneath your parachute, which is already inflated, and you float down into the ocean. But then, like you would in a real situation, you have to get untangled from the parachute
out from under
your life raft, and that's part of the training. And then I also did it in pilot training, the initial part, where the biggest problem was not hitting the cow patties in the pasture that you're in when you come down.
Oh, that's a little added bonus.
Yes.
Don't break your back, don't break your ankles, and try not to step in the poo.
Right. By using the parasail for that kind of training means you don't have to worry about the parachute failing, that sort of thing. And in any kind of a fighter, the Air Force airplane where you are intentionally ejecting from the airplane, all of that stuff is automatic, and pulling the D-ring is simply a backup system. And the automatic systems in those are very, very reliable.
All right. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Probably not.
All right. You'll come back and visit again, get us
Sure.
up to speed on both those programs?
Yes, absolutely.
Dewey Clawson has been my guest this first hour, and it's been absolutely glorious. The second hour will pale in comparison horribly.
Falling in love is one thing. Having anxiety about falling is a whole different subject.